Supervising postgraduate research for non-science and technology. Okay, for today, we have speakers. Okay, I would like to introduce our speakers. Okay, our speaker today is Professor Dr. Imbarine Bujang from Business Management in UiTM Kota Kinabalu. Okay, so yeah, we are very grateful and lucky today because Prof. Imbarine has a lot of postgraduate students. We graduate with GOT. So today, we hope that Prof can share the experience in supervision and maybe give us some tips. Uh, if you have any question, okay, you can write in the chat box or you can ask yourself after Prof finish the talk.
Service interruption will affect the country politically.
Okay.
In election time and all this. Yeah, that's all from me. I pass it to
Excuse
Ashley.
me, no, Faiza, can you mute your mic? Hello, no, Faiza. Okay, thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Yep.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Okay, my name is Dr. Sohana from Faculty of Sports Science and Recreation. I will be moderator for today. So welcome to EC's webinar series, Upskilling Postgraduate Supervision and Assessment. Okay, today's session is Supervising Postgraduate Research for Non-Science and Technology. So this is the webinar series number 11. Okay, so I would like to introduce our speaker for today. Speaker for today is Professor Dr. Imbarine Bujang from Faculty of Business Management, UiTM Kota Kinabalu. Okay, so we are happy today, we are blessed today because Prof. Imbarine has a lot of students, postgraduate students, is graduate with GOT. So we'll be happy today if Prof can share us your experience and also maybe give us some tips like how to supervise our PG students. Okay, Prof, I hand over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to everyone. Okay, I think there's almost 60 people in the group. So first of all, I would like to thank the IPSIS for this opportunity to share the experiences that I've gone through. I think over 8 to 9 years of being supervisors for the postgraduate student. Later on, I will explain in detail, like how I go about with this supervision style, and also it's more on sharing session. Yeah? By the way, I think like normally like when I conducted these sessions, obviously it took me I think about 1 day to cover on the social sciences supervisions. But I try my best because the time being given is only 1 hour from 3 to 4 o'clock. We try our best. Yeah. All right. Let me share my screen first. Right. But this is just my what do you call this, from my own experiences. Okay. I just share with you what actually I've done and how I manage the time. Okay. So let me share my slide first. Right, as being given to me a topic of supervising postgraduate research for non-SNT. So I'll begin with my presentation with the who am I? Yeah. So far I have graduated 14 PhD students and then 11 MSc students, and out of 14 PhD, 6 PhD was managed to get the GOT and 2 MSc GOT, and 1 youngest PhD holder, and then 4 PhD with the Excellent Research Award. And in the pipeline, I have 17 PhD students right now, and 6 of them now waiting for Viva. And then MSc, also 3 of them waiting for Viva. So I've been conferred with the honorary fellowship from the UK on the Center of Business and Economic Research in UK, and was awarded with the Jewel and Crown from the Faculty of Business, and also Best Supervisors for UITM in 2014 for the Undergraduate Academic University, right? So let me just start with the content. So normally when I actually wanted to supervise the students, I think like this is actually my, I think my fundamental, you know, like what actually the aspect that I will look in detail, especially what actually really engage with the social sciences area. So normally like I will refer this with the KPT fundamental. Is based on engagement, the knowledge, and the personal effectiveness, and also research, governance, and organization. Because this is also will drive the success of the student and also the quality of the students. Yeah. Okay. So what is the outcome? I thought this one is actually for students. So never mind, since there's so many lectures inside here, never mind, we just share as in general. So what actually I just want to say today is more on the important process of the the research of supervisor's perspective, and then have the students to plan their research work, right? Okay, when come to the supervising postgraduate students, I always put myself based on these 4 fundamental aspects. The first one is the research procedure by faculty and IFSIs. And then the research process, I look into 2 different points. Then the number 1 is the research method and also the field of interest. And the third one is the supervisors relationship. And the last one will be the value added to the supervisions to the ecosystem. When the next one is on the first one, okay. When we start to supervise, this is my my style of supervisions. I really want the students to really know the process, and this is actually will lead them to do some planning when they want to finish their study, and how long they are going to take for each process. So that started from the application and until the Senate letter, then go for the convocation. And each of this process, you know, like this, of each of the students really need to understand, yeah. And each of the step needs certain procedure and need time also to manage from the back door. Yeah? So this is kind of PG system that I think this one you can get from IPSIS. This is a common process, yeah. The next one is what I want to share is actually my experiences in terms of, I give you in terms of the, there's a 4 part, yeah. The part 1 is more on the model itself, and part 2 on the tips and strategies, and part 3 supervisor relationship, and then for the value added to the supervision ecosystem, right? So we go for the first one. Okay, this model actually I have designed based on our requirement by IPSIS, and also by faculty, whatever that required by the faculty. So I put every process, okay, in this website. If you have a time, you can actually go to this website, and I put everything, you know, like the process that I use to supervise my students. Yeah. Okay. Basically this idea I have registered with my IPO last year December, I think last year November, right? And I think like many, if I really want students to go to do something, nowadays I just instruct them go and download the information from this website. Yeah. All right. Then this is actually the fundamental. Sorry about this diagram because I don't have time to what it goes to draw. to draw the what do you call it, the nicest one lah in the slide. So basically, you know, like when I actually supervise the students, I divide them into every semester. I divide them into 4 meetings. There's a 4 meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, and meeting 4. Especially for master students, they are beginner in terms of research, right? That's why they have to know where to begin and how to embark the academic research. So normally in the meeting 1, normally like I think obviously many ways that we do actually we ask the students to do the literature review, right? And then you convert the literature review for by identifying the literature review, we find the problem statement, its objective, RQ, and also the expected outcome from this problem. So this meeting 1 basically, you know, like will drive the students to go to development of the conceptual framework and also hypothesis development. So the reason is like this. Well, the reasons why we want to look the mapping like this, the reason is because we want the students to know the flow of the research. Yeah, how they understand about something. For example, if you look at in meeting number 2, right after they identify the gap in the literature, they will started to develop the conceptual framework, where this conceptual framework will be aligned with the theory and conform with the theory fit. Then later on, you know, like they're going to do the sum measurement of their work in meeting 3. Then meeting number 4, we discuss about the method. And for PhD students, for master student, it must be happen within first semester. And for PhD students, normally like we take a second round in the second semester, then after they go for the DRP. Yeah, this is the academic. I think this one you can get from the website that I mentioned just now, right? Okay, the next one is the tips and the strategy and how we drive the students to go to GOT and also FPC. And this is also available in the website to make it you know, like available information, so everyone actually can access. Yeah, right. So the supervision tool normally that I do, actually there's certain stages I need to fulfill. The first one normally that when come to the proposal at the first day when the students enroll, the students will ask to do the Gantt chart. But quite sometimes this Gantt chart is quite a very, what do you call this, very simple, and quite some for beginner like a master students, they won't be able to you know, to illustrate the mapping of the research process. Then what actually we need to do, we have to convert the Gantt chart into a very detailed, like a timeline. Okay, I will show you later in a short while. And later on, we're going to do the chapter mapping. That is actually to confirm the consistency of the whether the students actually doing the right thing or doing the things right. And also this mapping as well include the methodology flow and how they're going to achieve each of the objective. And the last one actually planning for students. This is actually how I communicate with the students. Yeah, right. So this is the Gantt chart. I think obviously every one of you know how to do this. Yeah. But you know, like what actually my problem here when I'm referring to this Gantt chart, for example, the student quite sometimes, you know, like they drag the time because they don't have the what do you call this deadline in here. It's just assumed that the work will be happen in the month and so on. But what I'm suggesting right after that, you know, like it must be detailed for every month what you are doing. Right, for instance, like this, yeah. This is the timeline. Okay, for you also can download this template in the website just now, where you know, like it's happening for every semester. What actually the student need to do, right? When they're supposed to start to write the article, for example, and then when they're supposed to go to the conferences, and then because the challenges right now is actually when the students want to go for publication. That's why if you look at this plan, we actually ask the students to start writing the what do you call this, the article in the second semester, right after they found the what do you call this, a clear problem statement, right? So we started to do the article 1, article 2 on the literature. Then later on, when we do at the same time when we collect the data, and we can actually just pop in the what do you call this, the finding in the paper, right? Then it's ready to publish when you come to the second year, right? This is one of the strategy. You detail up this one. So I also provide you know, the template for what do you call this For PhD 3 years, and for master for master 4 semester. Okay, this is how to drive them to go for GOT. Yeah. Right. The next one is quite sometimes as well. It depends on the student. Quite sometimes the students cannot do a multitasking. Okay, they cannot do a lot of things in at one time. So what we do, we have to target in terms of the writing up the paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. Yeah, based on the 6-month project. Then later on, we can actually combine all the works become a thesis. Yeah, I think this one is really applicable if we are doing PhD by publication. This is a very good approach. Yeah. Okay, the next one is the chapter mapping. Once the students already conduct a very clear literature review, what is the gap in the literature, what's the problem, then later on, normally I'm asking the students, okay, to to map what is actually included in the subsections of the each chapter. Okay, and same thing as well when they're done for the literature review before this, because they cannot do the chapter 1 if they cannot proceed with if you're not doing the chapter 2 first, right? So if you look at chapter 2, they're also the same thing. They do the chapter 1, what is actually the subtopic in each of the topic and the coverage of the literature review. And later on, once they already have a clear chapter 2 and chapter 1, then it's easy to sort what are the best methodology and how is the flow looks like. Same thing they will do like that. And at the same time, I will asking the students, okay, how you're going to is the objective, then you have to specify. They say objective 1 using this method, objective 2 using this method, objective 3 using this method. But if you quite sometimes students use only one method and then to achieve this using one method to achieve more than one objectives, right? So it's okay, means that they only just one go. But for me, like us in especially in econometric studies, normally there's in economic and finance and accounting, normally like we base on the characteristic of the data and how is the data look like. So normally the methodology also will be different from one to another. Yeah. So the reasons why we ask the students to do the chapter mapping, we just want to we wanted them to understand the consistency of the thesis. Okay, we don't want them to look at they say different thing in chapter 1 and then the gap is actually looked in different way, and also the method is not consistent with the objective. So that is the reasons why I asked them to do this. Yeah. And normally this chapter mapping I also ask the student to include in the thesis. Yeah. That is actually will help the examiner to understand, okay, or the students really understand what is the root or the process of the doing the analysis. Yeah. Okay. This is how to make the how to make the research methodology clear from the examiner's point of view. Yeah. Right. So obviously, every semester, okay, this is one example. Okay, let's say if I already program the students what they should do and what is the deadline, I communicate with them with this. Okay, normally I assign this kind of information, okay, during the first semester. Then we plan, okay, and then we have to check whether the students actually still on progress, or maybe if they are having a lot of if they're facing any problem, so they have to tell me, and then we find a way and how to do the solutions, right? Okay, this is communicating, and we put the important dates to the students, right? Now, this is actually the most important part. Yeah, the most important part when come to the supervisors and supervisors relationship, right? So I think like we don't want to hear that the blame come from the students, the blame come from the supervisors, but at the end of the day, like, because like we are trying to as supervisors trying to help the student, and supervisors try to strengthen the competency, right? So that's why in order to achieve this objective, we need to have what they call a good relationship between both party, right? Understanding, and then also look at what is the coverage and what actually the role of the supervisor and supervisees, right? Okay. Now this is actually I just put based on my discussion, right? Based on my experience, the first things that I want to highlight is actually the topic selection, the strategy for success, feedback, meeting, and writing. Okay, that is a common. But quite sometimes, I found that when we only focus on this, this is more on thesis alone. But in order to develop the, as mentioned by the KPT in the diagram in the early slide I mentioned just now, but that one is actually really want to go for the competency of the students by thesis alone. I think it's not sufficient. That's why we need to have what they call this later and ecosystems, right? And how to make the they are in the environment of study, but at the same time they feel like they are in the team, okay, together with how to come up with a very good outcome of the research, right? Now let me talk about this one in terms of supervisors relationship. Normally, like, okay, we have a discussions on topic, right? Topic. Normally when talk about the topic, right, we have to discuss, okay, can it finish within the time frame? Okay, quite sometimes the students thinks too broad, right? Then we have to advise the student to limit the studies, right? And then the other issue as well, like whether the potential contributions to the knowledge, right? And then is the student's background adequate undertaking the topic, right? This is a big challenge for those students who are from bachelor degrees to do a master. So we need to play a role as a supervisors, okay, to what do you call this, to give an adequate information to the students regarding to whether it's achievable or not, right? So quite sometimes, like they are thinking beyond their expectation. So it also will lead to what do you call this, the late completions of the study, right? And then and like us in research in in the field of I would call this in economics, accounting, finance, right? So the most important thing is actually the availability of data, right? Even if you have a good, what they call this, a good framework, a good problem statement, but when the data is not available, then it also give a problem to us, okay, especially who are doing with the secondary data. But even for example, even for students in other areas like marketing, right, HRM, and other science, social studies, they also have to look at whether the study actually can be finished within the time or not, right? Otherwise, like they will dragging the time and lead to what they call late completion, right? And this hello, yes, any question? Okay, all right. Now the next one is I want to talk about the I think the selection. This is still under topic selections, and we also have to look at the supervisor's point of view, whether we are the right supervisor to supervise the process. Right? Otherwise, it will be not useful to the students, and then not give any benefit to the students as well. Yeah, so that's why we need to have what do you call this, we need to decide as well when it comes to the selection. For example, recently there are one students actually approached me and they come out with a proposal of marketing. So I said, like, I cannot supervise this topic because this is not my area. So I straight away say I cannot supervise this. Yeah, maybe that I can only help you in terms of your methodology, but not as a field of interest. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. The next one is provision of feedback. Now, this one is actually a very a big issue. Okay. This is considered a very big issue among all the what do you call this? Can say the supervisor and the students, right? Sometimes the feedback can be like the problem comes from both sides. Yeah, sometimes from students, sometimes from the supervisor's point of view, right? And obviously, like because we know that most of our supervisors busy, right? But but like we still need to to give a feedback to the students. Okay, so this is my principle when I actually give a feedback from what the students actually submitting work to me. So normally, what I can do, when they submit to me, and then I try my best, okay, to give back, okay, as soon as possible. And normally I will give a written report, right? Because the written report actually, will make us to make it clear once the students already out of the meeting, when the students actually not meeting with us already. So we actually the student actually can just refer from the report that I gave, right? So I give you example here. Okay, for example, most of the students problem in writing, especially when they want to write the background of study, quite sometimes it's not matched with the problem statement. Yeah, so sometimes they go beyond that what is actually they're supposed to talk in the background of study. So what we need to do as a supervisor, so we need to sit down and then we need to draft, draw a diagram, okay, how the students can explain the problem, how they're going to align the background of study and also with the with the problem statement. Quite sometimes, from my experience, the student has found the problem statement very good and very well in development the problem statement. But what actually the problem is when the background is not matched. Sometimes they put the unnecessary information in the background, so it also will lead the examiners to think, right, what is the coverage, are they going to do A or going to do B, right? So but at the moment, I think what's the best solutions, the students and supervisor need to sit down and then draw the mapping, how they're going to create a good story, okay, in the background and lead by the objective and also lead to produce your research objective. Yeah, so what is the most important here, feedback is very important and discuss carefully with your student. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, okay. And the next one is about the meeting, right? This is a principles that I use. Yeah, okay. Now when come to the first semester, obviously, especially for master student, they have to meet me regularly. Yeah, even because why, they don't have enough adequate knowledge or adequate skills on research methodology. So that's why we need to meet them frequently, right? Once they already done the DRP, they pass the DRP, then we can actually meet fortnight, okay, for the initial period. Okay, then after that, if they're already in data collections and data data collection, then we can do the every 3 weeks or every month. Okay, for instance, like some of my students already done the data collection and analysis. Now what we do is we meet every month. Okay, we meet every month and we target specific locations, right? Okay, where we can actually discuss conveniently, right? And then when it comes to writing stage means that we have to communicate that very, very frequent. Yeah, because this is actually, we also have to control the content and in terms of the the content of the thesis. Yeah, whether it's actually sufficient to each level, whether it's sufficient for PhD or master level. Yeah, so that's why meeting also very important. And if you are like me, what I can do, I conducted a program, okay, because since I have a lot of students, I think and I have to monitor all of them at one time. Normally, like we do for weekend retreat, for example, right? For instance, I think just a couple of weeks ago, I think recently, last week, from 4th of September until 7th of September. So I conducted our thesis bootcamp 2.0. And inshallah, and our third bootcamp will be on the 10th and 11th October. So it means that we do a regular meeting because they're already in the in the writing stage. That's why I said that we have to meet frequently and we have to. But during this period, what you need to do, you have to plan. Okay, what the student need to do within this 1 month, right? And what actually they have to bring before they go for the next thesis bootcamp, okay, the 3.0. So that's why this is actually part of the planning. Yeah. Okay. And not necessarily that you have to pull everything, but if it's depending on the student availability of the student. Sometimes student also busy, supervisor also busy, but at least the student also have to give the agenda, the meeting of the agenda 24 hours at least before the meeting start. Yeah, so that just to in order to provide a good outcome for the meeting, right? And the next one is actually the characteristic of good meeting. So this is actually just information for you on recent research. Okay, and normally this is actually very good. You know, when we actually pull all of them together at one place, then you know, like quite sometimes the students actually experiencing the difficulty, same thing. You know, like they have the same problem. So normally, like then we can solve the problem at the same time. And quite sometimes, you know, like they also can communicate directly among the team. That's why my style is actually, I really like to have a discussion in team, right? So then we can also learn from others as well. Yeah. Okay. That's why I say that's the good things about the teamwork, and also we can actually solve the immediate problem and also difficulties. Yeah. The rest I think is a common for everyone. Yeah. The next one is the role of writing. Okay, now writing is also one of the challenges, okay, among the the PG students. Quite sometimes, you know, like after I read the material provided by the students, then quite sometimes, you know, I highlight that what do you want to say here, for example, and quite sometimes it's quite vague in certain area. So that is actually our role to ask the students, okay, but we're not actually fixing for them, but we actually ask them to think at the same time, right? So are you going to say like this? Are you going to say like that? Okay, so that's why we need to sit down as well when come to this stage. Yeah. All right. I think for we are not a supervisor, will not do the editing works, right? So same thing, you know, like we still have to send a professional to check the English or the language and how it's supposed to be to be written. Yeah. Okay, the next one is, okay, now I come to the what you call to the last part of the session here. This the value added to supervision ecosystem. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you know, like, okay, when we just leave the students, okay, just to do what they call this thesis, do the write up, reading, and do analysis, okay, and then write a paper, right? I think like it's only have in one hand competency, right? So means that they know how to write, they know how to publish a paper, they know how to come up with the research work and so on. But at the same time, we also have to build them what do you call it, in terms of other soft skills, yeah, as a soft skill like networking, you know, like how to talk with people and so on. That's why I encourage the students, okay, to work with outside people, you know, like, and how to get the research become appreciated, right, by industry. So I really like, you know, like it's not just depending on shelf and what do you call this, the thesis on the shelf alone. So we need to work with industry in order to, you know, to come up with a very good, you know, outcome. Yeah. For instance, like I have one students now actually who are doing what they call this the study on port efficiency, the port business, yeah, in Malaysia. So what actually she's doing now, she actually trying to innovate, okay, how you know, like a system can be developed in order to make this the what do you call this, the port system really manageable. That's why we convert this into innovation. Then the students get what they call a diamond award from one competition, right? Now the idea is already passed to the Sabah state government. So we actually now working on that, okay, and how it's actually we going to what they call this put in systematic way, and it become useful to our port system. Yeah, that's for example, right? So when come to the value added here, right, I just show a couple of pictures, right? what we have done, okay, and how actually we develop, the environment of the culture of research to the student. This because I believe it's not that most important in the, but I believe it will help the students to, to develop the professionalism. So of course, the PG system, as I mentioned earlier on, this is very important. We need to know that. Okay. And the next one is we have to look at what are the value component to the supervision system. So this is actually what I can say. Okay, we need to support us. We need to set up the supported research environment. For example, for me, I'm not encouraging my students to go alone. But you can go alone, it's okay. But the way is I think by working by team, I think like it will motivate each other, right? That's why, but in order to do that, we need to have a support system, right? And then at the same time, okay, when we as the students, we also have to prepare their researcher as a researcher mindset, okay, especially like a master students. I think like right after they finish the bachelor degree, they enroll for master level, so they still need guide from the supervisor, and it's actually a massive information need to be given to the students. Yeah. Okay, then the next one, we also have to identify the interesting and suitable research topic. This one, normally like I really, value the student suggestion. Okay, when come to the discussions of the topic, normally like I encourage the students to find and to look the topic by themselves. But what we actually, what we need to do is, as a supervisor, I just want them to do to think the topic is actually manageable, achievable, and also you can achieve, you can finish the study within the time frame. Okay, and the next one is the deep and critical comprehensive subject matter. This one normally like I always conduct what they call this a program, what they call supervisors relationship program, where we together and then we blend, okay, what actually we trying to, or to discover, right? And of course, right, we plan for the GOT, right? GOT, I think like many universities now talking about the GOT. GOT is very important, like because it's part of our it's part of the university's KPI as well, right? So what is actually we need to plan here, quite sometimes, like the students do the writing up to 4 semester, then after that in the semester 5, especially for master students, after semester 5 they already waiting for Viva. But when come to their pass with the minor correction, but then after that the time is already 6 semester, then it took them 3 years to complete the master program. So I think it's quite challenges as a for master, but for PhD, for those who are actually having experience, I think that should be fine. But for those actually, like say for example now, we have to very very detailed as well in terms of when now students with first class can go to PhD straight away. So now I think like we also have to look at, and we need to blend this group in order to in order for them to grasp the the nature and the nature of the research work for PhD and masters. Yeah, right. Then mastery in research method. Okay, now this one is the reason is why I asked them to do in team, right? Because like they will get experience from others as well. They not only learn what they wanted to use in their study, but they also heard from others, like to enhance their skill. So that's why if we wanted to be a very good supervisors, we become good consultant for research, like understanding the research method. We master for every mastery in research method will help the consultant to, especially student when they graduate, they want to be the consultant. They know what to handle with this data and what to handle when come to the situation, right? And most importantly, the last one is the value, the analysis and writing. Okay, analysis and writing. because analysis is one part, yeah, means that, you know, like they work with the data and they come up with the software, they use the software and so on. But the student also need to understand what testing they use and what for and what reasons. That's why, you know, like when it comes to the analysis, let's say student do the analysis, they come up with, they show you the result. At the same time, when they want to write, they must also be equipped with the appropriate language of analysis, yeah. So quite sometimes, you know, like what do you mean? Because this is quite what do you call this? It's a very important part. Okay, when it comes to your findings, we need to look at it very careful. Yeah, all right. Okay, the next one is this is just a photo. You know, like when we said that why I go for the team, right? Because PhD is not a lonely journey, right? So I show you here, you know, like, and when I actually design a program where, you know, like we also experience from industry, at the same time the student also you know, enjoy the sightseeing as well, right? So because apart from doing research, because I believe that for every effort that students do, they need to be compensated with the right things, yeah. So normally, like, I'll go together with the students, you know, that I encourage them, I monitor the writing of the paper and then submission of the paper. Then we plan how we go through the fieldwork, right? Okay, this has happened last year in 2019. Yeah? This year we cannot go anywhere because of the COVID-19, right? Okay, then the next one is go to conferences together, right? Okay, so it will be, you know, like more excitement, and you also listen how the others respond on your research. And also, you know, like we also heard, you know, like it's a good way, you know, like how to what do you call this, motivate each other towards the completion of the study, right? This is some of the activity that we can plan, yeah. Okay, and then this is actually the culture. Last, we need to embrace the culture of research in the campus. We need to, what if, let's say for example, you do on the progress report presentation. It's not just like fill in the form and then say let's sedang maju and so on. Then we submit to the faculty to endorse. But in Sabah, I think we really look at, you know, like what is your current status, yeah. So we really monitor on this, yeah. So the reason is because now they're also helping, okay. Other also helping means that all the supervisor and co-supervisors, you know, go down and listen to the presentation and what do you call this, getting any feedback from the from others as well, yeah. Not from only from the supervisor, maybe from other supervisors, yeah. Right. Then the next one is, let's say, go for innovation competitions, right? So, you know, when you go together again, you know, like you feel the excitement, yeah. Okay. And then the next one is this is, okay, pre-Viva, okay, activities. This is what I did. Even like recently, because I'm not taking care of the pasture in Sabah because there's someone else already taking care. But since I still have a lot of PhD student, so what I did is actually I conducted my own session lah, you know, with my students. So this one is during the PKP, yeah, during the PKP. Then we have to sit, we have to concern about the social distancing, right? So, but we still do the same activity, right? We ask the students to present during the pre-Viva, yeah, because it's compulsory, yeah. Okay, and during this pre-Viva, we provide them as well the Viva Voce preparations, the kit, preparation kit. Okay, in this document, for example, right, in the first picture here, right? This is actually a compilations of the potential questions of the Viva Voce. Yeah? This is actually I compiled based on my experience as an external examiner, as the internal examiner, and also as the supervisors lah. The supervisors. Then I record all my students' question provided by the comment by examiner. Then we compile everything. Then we look at whether the question actually fit with the students' work or not. Then what actually I suggest them, I ask them to try to answer all the questions in this Viva worksheet kit, right? So when they actually look at the thesis, let's say they are not some of the questions are not reflected to the thesis, so we need to ask them questions. Why you don't have that elements? Okay, now because that is part of the preparation as well, the students should know why they are actually limiting the certain questions cannot be answered. Okay, they must have their own answer. Then they have to provide the justification for that. Yeah, right. And then the next one is the teamwork. Yeah, the teamwork. So normally, like, okay, I'm with my team, I'm with my co-supervisors, or we'll sit together, right? So whatever is it, like we still need to sit down and then to get the what they call the mutual understanding between the students, main supervisor, and also co-supervisor. So at the same time, like we can actually produce a very good quality of work. Yeah, right. Okay. Right. And then leisure time. Okay. That's why with the students, like sometimes very simple, just make a simple leisure time with the students. Yeah. I think this is workable. Like quite sometimes, during the eating time, like where they also talk about the research, right? And how they go about that and so on, right? This is just to make, like make what you call informal meeting. Yeah. Right. Okay, and then supervises course activity, right? So like we have to design, okay, design the activity where the both supervisors and supervisors sitting together, like let's say if they're having a one problem and how they're going to solve this problem. Okay, let's say it's a very technical problem, then we can ask, okay, assistance from those supervisors who are actually good in the technical part. Yeah, right. Okay, and okay, now for us, okay, now this one is actually I personally conducted the econometric class. The reason is because all this group here in the photo, they are fresh graduate from undergraduate. Yeah, so when they graduate for a bachelor degree, so normally like their knowledge on the method and also the estimations for the statistical, I think varies. I think not that sufficient. So what we need to do, we need to what do you call this, to develop them. Alhamdulillah, this is actually a student from Intech March 2018, right? And I think I can say 90% of them already completed within 2 years. Yeah, within 2 years. And because now we need to ask them questions. Okay, what is your current problem? Is there any problem that you're facing now? So if they're having a problem, so what we need to do, then we have to provide that. That's why I said we need to provide a support system. What the students really need in order to enhance the understanding, to what do you call this, to make sure that they are they can actually finishing the study on time. Yeah. So since this one is actually required for students in business, especially in accounting, economics, and also finance. Okay, econometrics is actually nowadays is a very useful, especially with the business and data analytic. Yeah, right. Then I also encourage them to work with the industry. Okay, find how to communicate with the industry. So they ask them to what do you call this, to raise a fund. Then this money can be used for helping students who actually not be able to pay the tuition fee, right? So this one is actually another part of the PG lah, the ecosystem. So means not only just research, but also asking them to be social responsibility. Yeah, right. So we also have a culture for what do you call this, for the PG students. We ask them to do the batik day for every Thursday for full-time students. Yeah, this is our common what do you call this, common culture, right? And then right, I think that's towards the ends of the slide. Okay, this is actually I define how to define the successful. Normally, like I use this part, this formula to sit down. Well, after I normally during the first day of the what do you call it, first day meeting, when we first day meeting with the students, and I ask them to sit down and then think about all these words here. What is it by successful? And you actually define what is mean by ability, attitude, motivation, build, and the last one you tawakkal. This is actually the combinations, combination formula, how you are going to achieve your what you call your study success journey. Yeah. So I think with that, thank you very much. Okay, that will be my last slide lah. Yeah. So back to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Prof. Um,
Is there any question? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, yeah, can you?
Prof,
Yeah.
in the chat box, okay, can you
Yeah.
click the chat box? There is question from Muhammad Azim Faris.
Oh, okay. Okay, Prof, do you think the following step a good practice? Get the student to get for the DRP early first semester with a fairly acceptable framework, despite some weak, their proposal. Okay, they will do the correction, improvement based on examiners, comments, DRP, and show the corrections, improvement, and examiners before collecting the data, and for only data that examiners are satisfied with the correction and improvement. Okay. You know, like I think like I have to agree with what do you call with IPSIS, yeah. The way how IPSIS already put the guideline for master students, they have to they have to defend the DRP during the first semester within 6 months, after 6 months. You know, like that's why I think for master student is a big challenge, okay, compared to PhD student, because PhD they took about 1 year, especially preparing for the proposal defense. So when come to the master students, so the master student, especially those students who just actually graduated from undergraduate, so that's why I said just now, we need to equip them, okay, with the what they call this a proper way or scientific way how to conduct a research, right? So normally, like I think they also experience doing what do you call this a project paper, the final year paper, yeah. But I think it's not sufficient as a master level. So that's why we need to during the first day of the meeting with the new students. So we need to sit down with them, okay, and then discuss, okay, where is actually their level, yeah, where is their level, and we need to ask them, okay, now what is actually your need, what kind of training maybe you need for in order to students to what do you call this to achieve within 6 months of work, right? So that's why I think like I didn't put in the slide, you know, like because some of the culture that I conducted during my time when I taking care of the pasture, you know, like especially for those in March 2018 intake, right? So I asked them, okay, there's no involvement of the lecturers or the supervisors, but I asked the students to have their own coffee sessions. Yeah, for example, they have Tuesday coffee session. So every afternoon Tuesday, all the students need to present with their friends. Okay, means that asking, okay, whether they actually on the right track or not. Okay, what sometimes, you know, the students actually have different perspective. Then when they're having different perspective, you know, why these students doing this way and why the student this way, then they're going to refer to the supervisors right after that. But I think it's workable, right? Within 6 months, okay, for master students, okay, if we know how to limit their study, and if we know that what the students need, then we can do that, yeah. But and then I think like proposal right now is not only 8,000 words, right? Then students can defend the proposal. I think for master student 6 months should be okay, and for PhD should go for 1 year, and because it need to be more developed. That's why when I show my model just now, I have a meeting 1, meeting 2, and meeting 3, and meeting 4. That one is actually we can what do you call this, that one you can you know, like you can actually plan according to the students, okay, just to make the consistency of the of the students work. Yeah, now let me, I think like in order to answer all this, because you have four elements here, so let me, what do you call this, show, if I can show you the website itself lah. Yeah, hang on, okay, let me share the website first.
Prof, Imbarine, you have mute your mic. Prof, can you unmute your mic? Prof Imbarine, can you mute your mic?
Sure, sure. Sorry. Sorry.
We don't hear you.
I don't know what's happening now. Okay, so it's okay. Now let me show you. Okay, you know, like if you look at here, you know, like when I actually social sciences is actually very dynamic. Yeah, it's not like people in the lab. Okay, in the SNT, you know, like they do a lot of testing, right? So they're trying and trying. There's a trial and error, however. But for social sciences, you know, like we need to be very clear what is actually in terms of the problem. So normally, like I will ask the students to understand the process. Okay, what is actually the process from the day one until the end of the study. Okay, if you look at this, all this phase is actually during the March 2018. All the students actually look at what they're supposed to do on the first day. Okay, with the form, right, with the photo, with the passport photo for the enrollment and so on, right? So that's why we need to make them clear. The reason is because by understanding this process, the student will be able to feel the plan, okay, the plan based on what actually I suggested based on this template just now, right? Sorry. Sorry. Okay, now this is the first step, and then you can look at the chata alir here, the PNP lama and so on, right? So we just to say that, okay, how much is take, what, how many months, right? Okay, then after that, you know, students and during this part, okay, what we need to do, I suggest them to do what to do. Okay, this is what they need to do during the first semester. Okay, now just now the discussion on the diagram just now is a very simple, right? But if you go into this website, so you can download actually what actually the necessary things that you need to do during the meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, and meeting 4, right? For example, let's say meeting 1, let's say like I provide the template here. So what they need to do, okay, they have to, I just download first. then it's easy. Okay. Okay, if you look at okay, now never mind, I'll go back with that one later. Yeah, 1.6%. The internet is so slow here. Okay, now and okay, now this is the one. Okay, now I put this one, then like you can actually choose your semester, either you are intake of September or March, right? So then it's actually concurrently will follow suit with your plan. Yeah, so what you need to do, let's say, can you see that here, like when I'm supposed to get my meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, and meeting 4, what are the agenda? That's why you have to go for this is the mapping lah. You can download here, then you can comment here whether you have done it, or maybe you have to restructure again your time plan. That you can put some notes here. Yeah, okay. And the other one is the meeting agenda here, right? This is the meeting agenda for number 1. Yeah, what we need to do now. I asked them to work on the literature review. How to do this? Okay, start from they do the individual metrics of the literature based on theme or based on variable. It's okay. And once they already identify what is actually the gap in the literature, then they're going to convert all this information into this table just to make them understand what they have read. Okay, in terms of LR gap, problem statement, research objective, and expected outcome. This is actually what is the diagram that I mentioned just now from the meeting number 1. Okay, once mapping is done, student can start with the proposal writing. Yeah, okay. So then what we need to do in meeting 2, if we look at this diagram just now, I say in the meeting 2, once we done that between 2 months, yeah, October to November, right? Then December, you can start with the meeting 2, or maybe you can also go for the IGS seminar scale, what you call seminar skill seminar, and then it's compulsory for MSc and also PhD. Then before you go for the IGS skill, maybe that you can actually look at the meeting 2 first. Okay, what you can do. Okay, let me check. Okay, meeting 2, what the agenda? Okay, as we actually developing the conceptual framework, right? Then this is what they need to do. Meeting number 2, step number 1, number 2, and number 3, right? Okay, so once you're already clear about this, then you go for meeting number 4, number 3. Sorry, number 3, meeting number 3. What is the agenda of the meeting? So they also have a couple of steps. Step number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 means that how you're going to measure everything. Yeah. All right. So how you're going to measure the variable? What's the dimension? Okay. Is it your variable is based on what? Then you have the definition of variables. Okay. Now this is actually meeting number 3, right? So the meeting number 4. Okay. Meeting number 4. Meeting number 4. It's talking about the what they call this, the your methodology, right? So what they need to do, what the student need to do to understand, they have to understand the characteristic of the data. Okay, what is the data characteristic? Okay, they select the tool of analysis, whether they're based on cross-sectional, time series, or panel data, right? So if they're based on one of them, okay, then they have to explain carefully how this process, right? And then determine and understand the statistical technique, and every issue, what are the statistical technique they have to list down. Then after that, they try to locate where is the testing for each of the flow. Then they can have a very good proposal. Yeah. So this is actually a step meeting number 1, number 4, number 4. Now until number 4. Now from meeting number 1 until meeting number 4. Yeah. So once they're done that, then they go for the seminar, whatever, IGOT and so on, right? What need to be done, right? Okay, step number 3, progressive presentation, as I mentioned, right? Students have to do every semester progressive presentation. Then they go for mock DRP, right? Then go the free Viva, right? Okay, the free Viva is not only between you and your supervisor and your potential assessor. but it also in front of others as well, just to gain the experiences. Yeah. Okay. And what need to be conducted? Progressive presentation, for example, progressive presentation on current progress, a session for potential student on DRP, a session group for student pre-Viva. There are session of that lah. Yeah. This is the potential question, frequently asked common question during the Viva Voce, right? Okay, then they go for the real DRP. The same thing like what I put in the slide. Yeah. So, but that is actually I think within 6 months, if we based on this approach, I think student will be able to complete to defend the proposal. Yeah. Where is it? Okay. So
Prof, we have
yeah.
another question in the chat box. Who like to know, can you give some view on how differently you handle international students?
Okay, that question is from Dr.
Because
Yeah. Okay. Now, can you give some view how differently you handle international students? Okay. We must actually believe that. Yeah. You know, like when come to the supervision one-to-one what do you call this study behavior. So you know, like we need to understand as well from both of us. Okay, we need to understand you know, like from the international student perspective and also from from the supervisor's perspective. Right? I know that okay, we cannot run away from the culture of the international student. Sometimes you know they're not mean for that, but sometimes you know like it's because of you know, it's because of the way how they live is like that way. You know, like I recently heard about so many complain about the international students, you know. But for me that is for me the what do you call this, there always a way how to handle. Yeah. This is actually another skills that you also have to understand. Okay. And I don't know, but when it come to you know, like okay, for example, I have also students who actually having a problem. For example, you know, like when they come to home, they feel what do you call this, lazy. They don't have the momentum to do it. They said, but they said when they come to me and see me at my house, okay, they come and do some discussions. You know, they said suddenly, you know, like I feel, you know, like there's a you know, there's a what do you call this, a good vibe, you know, a positive vibe, you know, like to me to move to work on this. Okay, so this is actually what I heard about my students lah, you know. But I think like we also have to understand, okay, how we need to handle this student, and it needs what they call it, mutually understanding between students and also supervisor. That's why supervisee and supervisor's relationship is very important. Yeah, it's not only the thesis, but it could be until your leisure time. Yeah, for example, like us, for me, I like leisure time with makan, you know. That's why you can see my photo, you know, like all those with makan, you know. That's why while we having a makan, then we still talking about, you know, like how you handle this, how you handle that, and so on. So, you know, like, because I believe people will not stress with makan. Yeah, all right. Okay. Okay, I think I answered that, yeah, Dr. Gita. Okay, someone actually asking to get the link, yeah. So someone asking to get. Okay, let me copy first. Okay, the link. Let me copy the link. Then it's easy for you. Okay, copy. Okay. Okay, I've shared that. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, Dr. Kuldeep. Yeah, I think a little bit earlier. How to overcome challenges of distant postgrad supervision? Okay, now I think Prof. Dr. PM Dr. Noriati is actually in the room, right? Okay, because I also a co-supervisor for RE student. So we also have two students in Indonesia, but we never actually have a limitation to get in touch with the students. You know, we always I think like quite sometimes we at least we have discussion with the student via Google Meet, or also quite sometimes use the Zoom, right? So I have no problem with that. Yeah. Even the student also give a good feedback, okay, and how they're going to work with their what do you call this, with their proposal, right? So for me, like I have no problem with the what do you call this, the distance students. Yeah. So it's up to us, you know, like sometimes, you know, like when you wanted to know what is the problem project, you just actually chat the students straight away. Okay. I know some of students, they just make it, uh, make don't know about what your message is. But for me, you know, like I think if we actually provide some insight informations to the student, I believe they also will appreciate what we have done. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Prof, you want to answer one more question?
Which
From
one?
Dr. Siti Aisyah Johari. She asked how much should a co-SV contribute and how does a main SV create this synergy without potentially complicating things?
You know, like I never put, you know, like a different, you know, like what do you call this, whether you are different, whether you have less important into the supervisory team. Yeah. So no, for me, you know, like we have to place you know, where we are helping the students. Okay, we should not think about whether I am the co or I'm the you are the main, you know, like you're supposed to listen to me. But for me, you know, like my team. Yeah, my team, you know, like when come to the discussions, you know, like for example, recently when my students submit for Viva, so we have what do you call this, we lock one day, okay, one day, and then to make sure everything is consistent and so on, then we sit down together. It doesn't mean that whether I'm in, you are co, right, you are not equally important, but you also contributing to the students graduate. So I think there's no issue for us, you know, how much that we should contribute for the supervisor, for the students, but it's depending, you know, on us. But for me, I always, you know, like give a support to the students, even I am the co-supervisor. Okay, you believe that, you know, because like you feel, I don't know, maybe this is my part of my life satisfactions as an academicians, you know, like when we provide something more insightful information, then we just do it for the sake of the student completion. That's why, you know, like my motto, okay, this is my motto for all my students. I said, like, no matter I am the co-supervisor or main supervisor, I always take the message to the student. I said, like, your completion is my priority. Okay.
Is there any more question? Ada siapa-siapa lagi yang nak tanyakan soalan kepada Prof. Imbarine?
Okay, any more questions? This is the fastest session ever, you know, 1 hour. You know, because like usually when we conduct this, even with IPSIS last time, you know, like it took me 1 day. Okay, we have 4 sessions from the morning until the evening, where, you know, like I said, we divide them into 4 sessions. We're talking about the GOT, how we plan the GOT, then we ask the students to do practicality as well. Okay, so, you know, when they actually sit down, okay, when they come to the sessions, we actually I asked them, okay, you know, at the same time they listens to the lecture, but they, at the same time, they also have to prepare, you know, like how to plan their study. This one is a compulsory work. Yeah, compulsory work for every students lab. Then they know what to do next. Okay.
If there is no more question, Thank you very much, Prof. Imbarine, for the sharing your experience, and also it's very informative, interesting. So thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar series today. Hopefully, we will meet again for other series. Thank you.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Doctor, for
Yeah.
the closing, maybe for the closing, I think like I prepare one video to you know
Okay, sure. Okay.
to boost the motivations of the supervisors. I think like everybody deserve for a success. Then this video is actually preparing by my PG students. They compile all the activities, whatever that we have done so far, and that is actually just to make sure that they're having a momentum, okay, towards the completion. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
sure. Uh-huh.
Well, I think that then we can end after this lah. Yeah, the program.
So you can share now.
Yep. Hang on. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Let me. Okay.
Bergetar jiwa di persada bercahaya, pertemuan harapan pertama kalinya. Bergetar jiwa menghadapi mimpi-mimpi, sukar dipercaya pintunya terbuka. Di sini jua memori tercipta, walau seketika terjalin kasih kita. Mungkin di sini kita akan terpisah, kenangan bersama tiada lupa. Mengalun suara suri bisikan hati ini, seiring mencari haluan berseni. Bergetar jiwa hadapi mimpi-mimpi, tiada pun terduga pintunya terbuka. Di sini cuma memori tercipta, walau seketika terjalin kasih kita. Mungkin di sini kita akan terpisah, kenangan bersama tiada ku lupa. Yang terlahir jua termandi, semuanya lagi ku terindah, ku ingati buat selamanya. Di sini coba memori tercipta, walau seketika terjalin kasih kita. Mungkin di sini kita akan terpisah, kenangan bersama tiada ku lupa. Mungkin di sini kita akan terpisah, kenangan bersama tiada lupa.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. You want to give the last words before we leave?
All right. I think first of all, I'd like to thank you to IPSIS, okay, for the trust and then for this opportunity to share my experience as a supervisor. I think like over 8 years been supervisors. Okay, started supervising in 2012 until today, right? And but I'm still working hard to improve myself. I know that, okay, inshallah, with my planning right now, of course, I also developing what do you call this, a new structure, a new way. I try still finding way how to help the students to what do you call this, to improve their research and so on, okay, especially in terms of towards the completion, right? So for me, we have to work together. We have to work together as a team for UITM, okay, especially on the PG, right? We have to, because the PG students actually represent, what do you call this? Represent the how sustain, how good is the university, yeah, especially in contributing to the Myra score, yeah. So I would like to thank you to everyone here who are listening to my, what do you call this, a very humble presentation, right? So I hope that you earn what do you call, you get some what do you call this, small experience with me. So hopefully that it will help you to, what do you call this, to in your supervisory what do you call this, activity, right? Thank you very much once again. Yeah, Dr. Suana.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof, for your presentation and sharing very useful information. Thank you, everybody.